guys, in this video I am reading the operational case study material for the May and August 2023 Preseen. Our Preseen for operational case study is TracsEurope. I'm going to read the Preseen for you so that you can watch and listen again over and over to soak in the Preseen and listen when you're not at your computer screen. Ready? Here is your operational case study exam for TracsEurope. On page 2, you have your contents page. Let's start. Are you ready? On page 2, your role. You are a finance officer working within the finance department of TracsEurope. You are principally involved in the preparation of management accounting information and providing information to managers to assist with decision-making. At times, you are also expected to assist with the preparation of the financial statements and answer queries regarding financial reporting and other financial matters. Page 3, the company background. TracsEurope is a company that manufactures and sells tractors used for agricultural purposes. The company is based in Thailand, a country in Europe which has the T dollar as its currency. Tractors are manufactured at the company's production facility in Thailand and sold throughout Europe. TracsEurope is a wholly owned subsidiary of Agri, a leading global manufacturer and seller of a range of agricultural equipment, including tractors, combine harvesters, trailers, and ploughs. Agri is based in North America and was founded in 1860 by Charles Burdage. Agri initially manufactures ploughs and other farm implements designed to be pulled by teams of horse or oxen. Agri launched its first engineer-powered tractor in North America in 1920. Agri has numerous subsidiaries, some of which manufacture and sell finished products, tractors, combine harvesters, trailers, and farming implements, and some of which make components and sub-assemblies such as tractor cabs. There are only 2 subsidiaries which manufacture and sell tractors: TracsEurope, based in Thailand, serving the European sales market, and TracsAmerica, based in North America, serving the sales markets in the Americas, Australia, New Zealand, and parts of Asia. TracsEurope was set up in 1960 as a result of the Agri Group expanding its operations into the European market. TracsEurope does not sell directly to the end users of its tractors, who are mostly farmers. Sales are made to dealers throughout Europe, who then sell to the end user. TracsEurope has sales teams which develop and maintain relationships with a large network of dealers across Europe. All of the tractors that TracsEurope sells are large tractors for agricultural use. These are manufactured at the company's production facility, located in the west of Thailand. Manufacturing is largely an assembly process, starting with the engines, which are built from scratch, and ending with the final tractor assembly. TracsEurope buys in raw materials, parts, components, and sub-assemblies from a variety of suppliers, including other group companies. For the year end 31st December 2022, TracsEurope manufactured and sold 31,150 tractors in Europe, generated revenue of 2.990 million Thailand dollars, made a gross margin of 25.9% and an operating margin of 8.7%. TracsEurope also had an average of 4,120 employees. Page 4, the global industry, the tractor industry in the global market. The global tractor market was worth $66 billion in 2022 and is expected to grow on average by 4.2% a year over the next 10 years. This market can be split into 2 types of tractor. 1, agricultural tractors, which are typically large and designed for heavy-duty agricultural work, and 2, a mini tractor used for landscaping and grass cutting purposes. The growth in tractor sales is expected to be driven by increasing farm mechanization and automation in some parts of the world, for example, South Asia. In other parts of the world, for example, Europe, there is increasing demand for smart tech and alternative power sources for tractors. In these markets, there is also increasing demand for compact and mini tractors for landscaping and grass cutting. The global market for agricultural tractors is dominated by 5 large global specialist agricultural equipment companies, which manufacture and sell the full range of agricultural equipment, including tractors, combine harvesters, trailers, and plows. Construction equipment global companies also manufacture and sell agricultural tractors, but for such businesses, this is often secondary to their main business of construction equipment. Some, but not all of the manufacturers of agricultural tractors also manufacture and sell compact and mini tractors. This market, though, is dominated by specialist small mechanical equipment manufacturers. The power and specification of agricultural tractors sold varies considerably across the world, influenced by the nature of farming for each region. For example, the agricultural tractors sold in North America and Western Europe tend to be larger and have higher specifications than those sold in some parts of Asia. Still on page 4, the European market for agricultural tractors. In 2022, there were 1,550. Let me start that again. In 2022, there were 155,000 agricultural tractors sold across Europe. Market share based on sales volume for 2022 is shown in this pie chart. TracsEurope is 20%, they are in grey. Land Trax is a little bit higher than them at 22%, and G Tractors is a little bit higher there as us at 24%. Page 5, extracts from TracsEurope website showing our tractor ranges. We have range 1, A++ power, maximum power between 360 and 420 horsepower, depending on the model. The weight is between 12 and 13.5 tons, depending on the model. Range number 2, A+ power. The max power on this model is between 240 and 300 brake horsepower, depending on the model, and the weight is between 9 and 11.5 tons. Range number 3 is the A power. The max power on this model is between 120 and 180 horsepower, depending on the model, and the weight is between 5 and 6.5 tons. Our tractor models. We have 3 models in each of our ranges: basic, regular, and premium, as the names suggest. The basic range is our starter model with the lowest max power and the smallest size in each range. Practical, no frills, but still comfortable and able to get the job done. The regular is our mid-range model in terms of max power and size. Cabs are air-conditioned with fully adjustable seating, easy to use driver controls and rear cameras. And range 3 is our premium range. This is our top-of-the-range model with the highest power and largest size in each range. All models come with an air-conditioned cab, deluxe self-adjusting seating to give you the best ride ever in the roughest terrain, ergonomically designed driver controls and cameras that cover all angles. So that's 3 different power ranges, each with models reflecting 3 different specifications, making a choice of 9 different tractors, a model to suit every farming need. On page 6, we're going to talk about the directors of TracsEurope. The managing director is Tony Roberts. Tony has overall responsibility for TracsEurope and is the key contact for group management. Tony has been managing director for 5 years, having previously been a product development director for another Agri subsidiary. Tony was instrumental in securing the move of Agri's tractor product development centre to Europe. The second director is the production director, Jack Newman. Jack has responsibility for all aspects of the production facility and has been in post for 10 years, having worked his way up from junior production management. Jack is passionate about production quality and has instigated many initiatives to promote total quality management throughout the facility. The third director is for Product Development Director, Joe Steiner. Joe is a mechanical engineer with over 20 years of experience in the field of tractor design and development. He was appointed 6 months ago when the Tractor Product Development Department was moved to TracsEurope. Joe is keen on embracing new technologies in engine design, using the use of non-diesel fuels. Excuse me, let me start that again. Joe is keen on embracing new technologies in engine design, including the use of non-diesel fuels. Our next director is Sales and Distribution Director, Rena Bloss. Rena has responsibility for all aspects of sales and distribution, including developing and maintaining relationships with TracsEurope's large network of dealers and the distribution of tractors to dealers. Rena has been in post for 8 years and in that time has decreased the dealer network by over 20%. The next director is our Human Resources Director, Gina Patel. Gina has responsibility for all HR issues relating to TracsEurope employees and is an expert in employment law. Gina has over 20 years experience in the field of HR and has been with TracsEurope for 4 years. She believes that a high-level employee welfare is key to a successful company. On to the Finance Director now, Carl Lomas. Carl has responsibility for all finance-related issues, including the provision of internal and external financial information and developing relationships with local finance providers. He has been a qualified accountant for 15 years and has been a finance director for 2 years. Our last director is the Information Technology Director, Priya Galt. Priya has responsibility for the smooth operation of all of TracsEurope's IT systems and for maintaining the company website. Priya has been in post for 6 months and has many ideas about how the IT systems used by the company could be improved. She is keen that the company embraces more smart technology. On to page 7, we have an organisational chart showing the key management teams in TracsEurope. At the top, we have Sales and Distribution Director Rena with her sales team, Greg, Trina, Tom. They are senior sales managers for each region. We have our finance team. Carl leads our finance team. Then Ben is the finance manager, and we are in the finance team. We are one of 5 finance officers. We also have 7 finance assistants. Page 8 is the organisation chart for production. We have the production director at the top, Jack Newman, with his senior management team for procurement, warehouse and production, Jill, Tony, Dave. And then within the production facility, they have outlined other members of staff who you may have to answer a pre-scene question for. Well, I don't think I need to spell out all their names right now, but please refer back to page 7 for the org chart and page 8 for the production org chart. Page 9 is the overview of the manufacturing process. All of the tractors sold by TracsEurope are produced at the company's single production facility located in the west of Teeland. There are 5 production departments and the flow of work between these departments is as follows. There is a flow chart which starts with engine assembly, chassis assembly, body panel production, which goes into main assembly, and then testing. Please review page 9 for that flow. Also on page 9, each department is spelled out as well. The engine assembly department. In the engine assembly department, engines are assembled from scratch using parts, components, and sub-assemblies bought in from trusted suppliers. Each engine is assembled on a block so that it can be moved through the department. There are 5 stages to the engine assembly process, each requiring different high-skilled specialist mechanics to assemble and fit the parts, components, and sub-assemblies as required for each stage of the process. Some stages require a single mechanic, while others require multiple mechanics. As each stage is completed, the partly finished engine, mounted on its blocks, is moved to the next assembly area via an automated track system that runs through the department. The engine assembly is complete. There is a quality control and testing check. The engine is then removed from the block and moved to the chassis assembly department by a system of chains, pulleys and winches, where it is stored until it can be incorporated into a chassis. On page 10, we have the chassis assembly department. The chassis assembly department is where the chassis of the tractor is created. This starts with a chassis frame into which the engine, transmission and gears, rear and front axles, steering system and so on are built. The chassis frame is made from sections of high-grade steel, which are precision cut by a machine and welded together by robots. Before any elements are added, the chassis frame is dipped into a vat of cleaning chemicals and then manually sprayed with a single coat of paint. Chassis frame production is a mixture of mechanized and manual processes. The rest of the chassis assembly process is largely manual. To the chassis frame, front and rear axles and the steering system are manually welded into place and then tested. The part finished chassis then moves along a production line to another section of the department where the engine is carefully mounted onto the chassis and the transmission and gear system are built. A small inventory of completed chassis are kept in the department ready to be moved to the main assembly department when required. Body panel production department. The body panel production department is where body panels for the tractor bodies are made. These body panels include front and back wheel arches and the casing around the engine at the front of the tractor. To create the body panels, large steel sheets are fed into hydraulic presses, which are programmed to create the relevant shape. Once created, the body panels are moved by machine to the painting area where they are first dipped in cleaning solution and then spray painted by robots. Each panel receives 3 coats of paint to ensure a high quality finish. This part of the production process is highly mechanized, following a significant investment in new equipment 2 years ago. The next department is the main assembly department. The main assembly department is where tractors are put together on a large production line track that runs through the department. At the start of the production line, a completed tractor chassis delivered from the chassis assembly department is loaded onto a block, which can be maneuvered up and down as required and will move along the production track. To this chassis, a cab, which is brought in from another group company, is moved into position using digitally controlled lifting equipment and manually connected. All other parts, components and sub-assemblies are then added, including tyres, lights, front grille and body panels. The next department is the testing department. All finished tractors are tested in the testing department before being certified as complete. Testing involves running the tractor on a specifically designed treadmill that simulates the tractor's working environment. We are on to page 11. On page 11 is the other information about company operations. So we have sales information. All the tractors manufactured at TracsEurope production facility are sold to the end consumer in Europe throughout a European network of dealers. Currently, TracsEurope does not sell any of the tractors that it manufactures outside of Europe. All of the tractors are currently manufactured by TracsEurope are for agricultural use. Therefore, almost all of the TracsEurope end consumers are farmers. The sales inquiry and order process is as shown. So on page 11, there's a lot of boxes. So this shows the sales inquiry and order process. Go back, you can see on the screen and refresh yourself with this process on page 11 about how a farmer buys a new tractor and what the TracsEurope process is to make that sale. On page 12, TracsEurope has 3 regional sales offices, one for Teeland, one each for Teeland, Southern Europe and Northern Europe. Each sales office is located within the relevant region and has a sales team headed by a sales senior manager. Sales teams are set ambitious sales targets by the sales and distribution director and earn commission on top of their salaries based on achievement of these targets. The sales team are very knowledgeable about tractor specification and performance and are responsible for signing new dealers, ongoing management of relationships with dealers, ensuring that dealers have sufficient promotional materials, dealing with queries from dealers, dealing with online and phone queries about tractor specifications and so on from farmers, interacting with dealers to arrange delivery times, and ensuring that tractors are distributed to dealers in accordance with agreed delivery times. Each sales team is also responsible for setting up and staffing trade stands at agricultural shows across their regions, where demonstration tractors are displayed and potential customers can ask questions. TracsEurope sales contracts are between the company and the dealer rather than the end customer. A sale is recorded by TracsEurope when a tractor is delivered to the dealer, which is usually a day or two before the dealer delivers the tractor to the farmer. Sales teams have the authority to negotiate discounts with dealers of up to 15% of the normal selling price of a tractor. Contracts with dealers specify that the price that the dealer charges to the end user, i.e. the farmer, should be the price agreed between the dealer and the TracsEurope sales team, plus an agreed percentage to give a dealer the margin. Most dealers are given a standard credit period of 30 days, although some of the larger dealers have negotiated longer payment periods. Relationships between dealers and the sales teams are generally very good, and most dealers pay within their agreed credit period. On to page 13, we talk about the production facility. TracsEurope operates from a single production facility, which is one of the largest production facilities in Europe. This site includes 1. The Tractor Production Development Centre, which was built 6 months ago. This is the Tractor Development Centre for the Agri Group, with the function having been moved to Europe from America. Number 2. Warehousing for the various raw materials, parts, components and sub-assemblies which are brought in. Number 3. A huge assembly plant, which includes the engine assembly department, the body panel pressing department, the chassis assembly department, and the main assembly department. This site also includes a testing facility where tractors are tested before dispatch to dealers, and a finished goods warehouse where tractors are stored prior to dispatch. Let's talk about the suppliers. To ensure quality, TracsEurope sources steel plate and paint from single suppliers. Both of these suppliers are large companies that serve a lot of the vehicle manufacturers that operate in Thailand. Tractor cabs are bought in already, assembled from Cabs, C-A-B-S, a fellow subsidiary of the Agri Group. Cabs is based in Thailand and manufactures cab units for tractors and combine harvesters. Parts, components and sub-assemblies are bought in from suppliers which are mainly located close to TracsEurope production facility. Many of the components and sub-assemblies are specific to TracsEurope and are made by the suppliers using dies and tools that have been approved for use by TracsEurope. Supplier bulk discount and payment terms vary. Where feasible, the company does seek to take advantage of bulk discounts. Payment terms range from 30 days to 60 days depending on the supplier. The servicing and parts department on page 13. TracsEurope does not provide servicing and repair services for its tractors. Instead, this is provided by the dealers as part of their relationship with the customer. TracsEurope does, though, sell parts, components and sub-assemblies to the dealers and to other agricultural equipment maintenance providers. On page 14, we talk about the product development department. Product development for all agri tractors is undertaken at the Tractor Production Development Centre, now located in Thailand. Production development involves developing new tractor ranges and models, as well as refining existing models. Within the development team, there are mechanical engineers and vehicle designers using computer-aided technology. There are also mechanics and technicians that work on developing some of the parts, components, and sub-assemblies that are incorporated into new or refined models. Within the centre, there is a small foundry which allows parts and components to be cast from molten metal, and workshops where trial parts, components, and sub-assemblies are created. Once a part, component, or sub-assembly is developed, the development team liaises closely with the suppliers to ensure that the exact specifications can be achieved. We have a breakdown of our employees. TracsEurope has the following average number of employees during the year ended 31st December 2022. In total, we have 4,120. In production, the number is in production 3,650. In sales, 190. In administration, 280, creating a total average number of employees 4,120. On page 15, we have the financial statements for TracsEurope for the year ending 31st December 2022. Please review these. I'm going to spell out the numbers, but I would definitely review them as well, okay? So I'm just going to talk through this year's numbers, just gone 2022. Revenue, 2.990. Cost of sales, minus 2.216. Gross profit, 774. Selling, distribution and marketing costs, minus 304. Administration expenses, minus 210. Operating profit, 260. Finance costs, minus 31. Profit before tax, 229. Income tax expense, minus 70. And profit for the year, 159. That's the profit and loss statement on page 15. On page 16, we have the balance sheet. We have assets, current assets, equity and liabilities, non-current liabilities, and current liabilities. I'd ask you to refresh and review yourself on the numbers. We can go through that later. That's on page 16 is the balance sheet. On page 17, we have a statement of cash flows for the year as well. And on page 18, we have budget information for the year ending 31st December 2023. We have budgeted gross profit per each range, including the parts section, each range of tractor, or each 3 range of tractors and the parts department equal the total budgeted gross profit. It also has budgeted sales revenue and budgeted cost of sales revenue to give you a gross profit and a gross profit percentage. Each of those ranges is split into sales revenue and cost of sales. That's on page 18. And we carry on for page 19 for the next power range, A+ power range. And on page 20, we have the A power range. On page 21, there is an example of a standard cost card that we use for each of our ranges, A+ power. And, oh, no, that's just for A+ power, apologies. So that is an example standard cost card for A+ power, the middle range. So we have an example standard cost card on page 21. Please review that yourself and remember the numbers. And on page 22, we have notes on standard costing and budget preparation. The company operates a standard absorption costing system. 2, standards are reviewed and updated annually. 3, normal raw material losses are included in the standard cost of each product. 4, all direct labour overtime premium is treated as variable production overhead, idle time. And idle time is not budgeted for. 5, production overheads are allocated and apportioned to production cost centres and absorbed on either a direct labour hour or a machine hour basis. There are 5 production cost centres and each has its own variable and fixed production overhead absorption rates. 6, standard selling prices are after expected discounts from dealers. 7, budgets are prepared annually on an incremental basis. Operational managers have limited involvement in budget setting. And then on page 23, we go onto the articles. And 24 is another article, and 25 is another article. Okay. Please review these articles yourself. And they are a very important part of the Preseen and unseen questions that could come up. Okay. And then I'm just going to finish on page 26, the tax regime in Thailand. The corporation income tax rate to be applied to taxable profits is 30%. Unless otherwise stated below, accounting rules on recognition and management and measurement are followed for tax purposes. The following expenses are not allowable for tax purposes: accounting depreciation, amortization, impairment charges, entertaining expenditure, donations to political parties, taxes paid to other public bodies. Tax depreciation allowances are available on all items of plant and equipment, including computer equipment, at a rate of 25% per year on a reducing balance basis. A full year's depreciation is available in the year that the asset is acquired. Tax depreciation allowances are not available for property assets. Tax losses can be carried forward indefinitely to offset against future taxable profits for the same business. Sales tax is charged on all standard rated goods and services at a rate of 20%. Tax paid on inputs into a business can be netted off against the tax charged on outputs from that business. All businesses are required to pay over the net amount due on a monthly basis. That is our operational case study Preseen for TracsEurope. I want you to be able to use and watch this recording whenever you are not at your screen, and so that you can learn and embrace and listen and focus in on our TracsEurope Preseen. Any questions, let me know. Good luck.